All right, let's dive right in. We're talking about a topic that's, well, pretty close to home for a lot of us. The absolutely wild world of Toronto real estate. You know, that dream of owning a home in the city? It can feel completely impossible sometimes, but what if? What if there are these overlooked spots, these hidden gems just waiting to be found? Today, we're basically going on a treasure hunt to see if we can uncover them.
So let me ask you this. Are you on the hunt for a spot in Toronto that's got that potential, but, isn't priced into the stratosphere just yet? It's a question thousands, maybe millions are asking themselves. This explainer is all about mapping out a potential treasure hunt, and we're going to follow the trail of the city's biggest, most expensive new investment, transit.
Okay, first things first, let's just set the scene here. It is no secret at all that the cost of housing is, well, it's the biggest hurdle for pretty much anyone trying to put down roots in the GTA.
I mean, for years, the headlines have just been screaming about skyrocketing prices, crazy bidding wars, and the general feeling that affordability is just slipping through our fingers. So yeah, that's the core problem we're starting with. But, and this is a big but, it's not the end of the story. A recent report from RE/MAX actually suggests a totally new way to look at the map.
And that brings us to the main idea for today. This massive expansion of public transit, it's not just about making your commute shorter. The argument is that it might just be the single biggest thing creating the next wave of hot, desirable neighborhoods.
Yeah, according to Cameron Forbes over at RE/MAX, this is the #1 thing to keep an eye on. The whole idea is that these areas that maybe you once thought of as too far out, too disconnected, well, they're suddenly on the verge of a huge transformation. So how does that actually work? Let's break it down.
The logic is pretty straightforward. It's kind of like a chain reaction. Okay, so step one, new transit lines get built, right? Things like the Eglinton Crosstown or the Ontario line. That makes getting downtown way faster and easier. Step two, that convenience starts attracting new people. And, this is crucial, new businesses. And what's the result? Bam. The whole neighborhood becomes more appealing and you start to see property values creep up.
Okay, so where are these so-called hidden gems? The report points to a few specific areas, mostly out in Scarborough, that look like they're perfectly set up for this transit-fueled growth. Let's dig into a couple of their top picks.
First up, we've got Wexford, Maryville. If you know the area, you know it's got this quiet, suburban, really family-friendly vibe. Think mostly low-rise homes. So the average price here is sitting just over $1 million. And yeah, it's already got good highway access. But that's not the real story. The reason it's on this list is what's coming. 2 major new transit lines. And RE/MAX is betting this is going to be a massive catalyst for growth. Now this is where it gets really, really interesting. Look at the neighborhood's current makeup. Condos? They're just a tiny 4% of the housing here. And, get this, over 60% of the buildings went up before 1960. When you put those two things together, well, that just screams massive potential for redevelopment and, more density in the years ahead. All right, next up, let's head over to Clairlia-Birchmount, also in Scarborough. This place has a bit of a different vibe. It's more of a mix, kind of urban and suburban, with a really diverse, multicultural community. The first thing you probably notice is the price. It's coming in just under $1 million. But honestly, the really telling number is this one. 37% of families here moved in just within the last 5 years. That is a huge signal that this neighborhood is already changing, even before the new transit is fully up and running. Okay, so the argument for this transit-led growth, it seems pretty strong, right? New subways, rising values, it all makes a certain kind of sense. But, like with any big story, there's always another side to it. We gotta look at the whole picture. And that leads to a pretty crucial question. Is a new LRT line really the silver bullet for Toronto's entire housing market? I mean, really? Or are there deeper, much more complicated things going on here? Some experts would definitely argue that just focusing on transit means you're missing the forest for the trees. So for a different take, we can look at what Kyle Kinkes from Royal LePage says. He argues that the real problem here is political. From his perspective, certain government policies that favor tenants have basically scared away investment in building new rental apartments. He points out that, hey, most rental buildings are over 50 years old, and this serious lack of new supply, which he ties back to policies like rent control, is a huge barrier to affordability, a barrier that a new subway line just can't fix on its own.
And just so we're all on the same page, when we say rent control, we're just talking about those government rules that put a limit on how much a landlord can raise the rent. The whole debate, and it's a big one, is whether this protects tenants or if it stops developers from building new rental housing. And that's a really key piece of this expert's whole argument.
So, okay, we've got the big picture idea about transit, and we've got this sharp critique about policy, about what's actually happening on the street level, on the ground. For that, let's look at a place that's already gone through a major growth spurt.
Let's take downtown Markham as a perfect little case study. It's got all the ingredients we've been talking about, right? It's a busy hub, it's got great transit links, a university campus, tons of shops and restaurants, and an expert from a local moving company adds another layer. He notes that its growth isn't just about the infrastructure, it's also being fueled by new immigrants. In fact, about half the residents there identify as Chinese. So what that shows is that in the real world, it's not just one thing. It's this whole mix of transit and schools and community that really makes a neighborhood pop.
So where does all this leave you if you're the one searching for that hidden gem? Well, it kind of means that your whole definition of potential really depends on which of these stories you find more convincing.
And really, it all boils down to this central conflict. On one hand, you've got this really optimistic view that new infrastructure, things like subways and LRTs, will unlock a ton of value and create amazing new opportunities. But on the other hand, you've got a much more cautious view that says, hey, without big changes to our housing policies, real affordability and growth are just going to stay stuck in the mud.
And that leaves us with one final and I think pretty provocative question. As we look to the future of Toronto's neighborhoods, what's going to be the bigger driver of change? Is it the billions of dollars we're pouring into steel tracks under the ground? Or is it the policies we write to actually encourage building new homes above the ground? The real answer, of course, is probably somewhere in the middle. And figuring that out is what will define the search for Toronto's next hidden gems for years to come.